Hello. Now it should be working.
Yep, can hear you loud and clear.
All right. And I forgot to pick my microphone in the voice meter banana software. So then, yeah, I guess it doesn't load it by default. All right. Thanks. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah. So my name is Kris Nelson. My site is evolveconsciousness.org. And welcome to another episode of the Great Work Launchpad, episode 27, Shadow Work 25, Fear or Love, part 10. Talking about that motivation within us, whether we know it or not, that is demonstrable by our behavior, and what we do in our lives is demonstrating whether we are living in certain degrees. I'm not talking about a totality, but from moment to moment or action to action, what that action represents. Are you living in the polarity of fear or love as what motivates you? So the Great Work Launchpad, trying to get people launched like a rocket ship into the great work of ending our enslavement. And yeah, not a popular work, and not necessarily something that people do right or think that they're doing. And or effectively, there's a wide gamut of how you can try to get people onto those ends of ending our enslavement. But if you're not ultimately at no point doing some moral education, then how much are you actually doing the great work? Because the great work of ending our enslavement is only possible according to the law of freedom if the vast majority are moral beings, and that requires moral knowledge. So moral truth needs to be dispensed and acquired by everyone, or the majority of everyone, in order for this hope, this dream, this work to become realized, and for us to truly be free. And that's the pivotal importance of moral education through the great work, and that's the culmination, the ultimate goal of the great work. So you can do a lot of other things, but that's ultimately the main thing that needs to happen. And that's why some of the peripherals are this shadow work thing, getting to understand yourself, develop self-knowledge, and know yourself more so you can have that self-respect by looking at yourself again. And then you can develop more self-care, self-love, and the courage to activate yourself, to light that fire under your ass, ignited by care. All right. You want to say something, Brandon?
It's been cold as hell here.
Oh, yeah?
Okay. Yeah, outside of that, no. I see you got your hoodie on, so yeah. I see you got your black on, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my office is the warmest place. I got cold hands. I don't have much of anything on my fingers. It's all bony, and I get cold
Yeah.
hands just working on doing coding all day at my job, and yeah. So I need my room to be my office space needs to be a good temperature, or else it gets cold easily.
Yeah. Well, hell, I just rely on I said my Intel CPU to heat my room up sometimes.
That's a good joke. Yeah. Well, hopefully it's not too defective there.
Yeah. Hell, even if it is, I've got a lot of backup desktops to replace it. So it's all
Cool.
good.
Yeah. So I'm gonna hit hard at the beginning here. Gonna be something I guess people won't want to hear. Well, I guess if you're not ready for any of this, none of it is what you want to hear, since the whole point of the shadow work is facing yourself. But talking about, essentially, we're doing a battle. We can name it, call it a battle of those who want to end evil versus those who are directly creating it, or those who are supporting the creation and the perpetuation of evil. That's participation in evil. And that's what I've termed I won in my presentation on morality. I won And then I go into I1A and I1B for direct participation if you're creating it. And if you're supporting it, and you're participating in it because you're supporting in it. So that makes you, those are two different levels. Obviously, creating it is a higher level of immorality than supporting someone doing it. You're not doing it yourself, but you're supporting it. It still makes you immoral. So even though you're not initiating the harm yourself, it's still the support of that harm being initiated. So you're advocating for reality to have that immorality, which is, it could be a temporary act of enslavement, or it could be the persistence of enslavement, which gives you the condition, the permanent condition of enslavement. And so even within those, that first level of what I term immorality, level 1, there's grades and gradients. You have the more severe level of creating it yourself, and then you have the bootlickers who support it. And we'll get into the second level, as I refer to it as. It's not creating it, it's not participating in evil, but it's tolerating the evil. So you're not participating in creating or supporting it. So you're not engaging in that participation level, be it creating or supporting, but you're engaging in a tolerating level. And so we're in this like battle, right? A war, an info war, as people have called it, a spiritual war. The information of who can put out the most information regarding deceptions and manipulating people and getting them to buy the con, buy good is bad, buy that evil is good, buy that right is wrong, buy into wrong being right, the inversion, the Satanism, the egotism. And on the other side, you have people who are on the side of truth, the light carers. We have the dark carers and the light carers. The dark carers are those who have dark care and they want evil to perpetuate, and the light carers are those who want to stop the evil and want good to perpetuate. So we're in a battle, and when you don't do that higher level morality, so to contrast immorality level 1, you have morality level 1, and that's an inaction. It's apophatic, where you stop engaging, you recognize your behavior, you have moral knowledge, you have conscience, and you choose to exercise it by not engaging in that primary level of participating in immorality through the creation of it and also not supporting it. And by not creating it and not supporting it, then you're in that base level of morality. But the higher level of morality, as I define it, is when you're not tolerating evil, as a corollary to immorality level 2, as I refer to it, where you're not participating. So you're not tolerating it. That means by not tolerating it, you're doing something to try to end evil. And when you don't participate in that higher level morality, M2, you're a quitter. And to quit is to lose. So when you don't do that, what you're saying is, I'm not doing it, and I'm accepting that evil will continue, and you're being a loser. Quitters are losers in this sense. So when you're quitting that call, that clarion call to join in the effort to put out, as a light carer, that effort of truth to propel goodness, rightness, morality, and reach true freedom. Well, if you're not engaging in that, and if you started and you quit and you just give up, either way, you're being a loser. Because if you play a game and you quit, you lose the game. So this is how it's a battle. It's a game, in a sense, because we're two competing sides of those who want to put the voice of falsity forward for the false ends, or those who want to put the voice of truth forward for the ends of truth, order, morality, right, good, and true order. So right now we don't have enough people in the battle. And if you do join and you quit, then you're not helping us win. You're helping us lose, because we need more people in the battle. And when it comes to the great work, you can't just try and then fail, or do a bit and then give up. And that's quitting. You have to push forward. You have to apply the force of your will. You have to keep reapplying. Doing it once, it could be, all of this is to try to get people into it. And when you do it once, you can view that as monumental at first until you do it. And then once you do it, you can apply, you can think of it as momentum. Once you get started, it's easier to keep going. But you still have to keep going. And even that, in a way, it can be easier to keep going because you have the momentum. But also, it can be seen as harder because just doing something once, if you just want to do something once, it's like, okay, I want to go climb to the top of that mountain once. It's like, okay, that's one challenge. All right, I did it. I accomplished it. All right, it's one and done. Boom, done. Easy. All right. Whew. It was hard, but I did it one time. And then if you're like, okay, I'm going to do that every day. Ah, shit, man, that's a lot. And then you're like, well, I don't want to do that every day. That was just like a one-time challenge. Well, the great work can't be done like that. It's not a one-time challenge. It's a thing that you have to continuously reapply your will. So that momentum aspect, once you get started, it can help you keep going, but you still have to reapply your will and keep doing this thing that you probably don't want to do. I don't think any of us really want to do it. We do it because we want the result, and we also want to be more moral. So anyone can do this. You just got to start somewhere. You could start helping someone else in the background, helping someone else do their thing, and then learn from them. And that's a good thing about mentorship. That's how a lot of apprentices learn a craft, is by getting engaged with someone who's already doing it. And that's how you learn in everything. You can learn how to program in school, but until you get into the workforce, and you're not going to know much. And you learn a lot by being around people who are smarter than you, who can teach you things. So that's one way people can learn, is go be an apprentice to someone else, give of your time, not to create your own effort at first, but help them in their effort, and you can learn the ropes. So telling yourself that you can't do it, though, so that you stop trying or don't even start, well, that's a bullshit lie that you tell yourself just so that you don't have to start, or just so that you don't have to keep doing it. So is that true what you say to yourself? You say, oh, it's too hard. I can't do it. I can't start it. I'm not ready. Well, like I said, there's other things you can do. Go be an apprentice and gain the skills to be ready, because we do need more people doing this. And if that doesn't happen, well, it's never going to happen. The goal is never going to happen, because it's all about the aggregate. It's all about, I call it the principle of quantity, or the principle of the majority. That's why everything in the world works. Whatever the majority do, or whatever the majority allow, is what happens. That's how everything works. So whether it's for good or for wrong, for moral or immoral, for good or for evil, take your pick, anything. If anyone allows it, if a bunch of people want it to be that way and everyone else allows it, well, it's going to be that way. And that's the world we have with authority, because people allow the system of authority, and that's the world we live in, is a system of authority where people get to say, you're allowed to do this and you're not allowed to do that. And if you dare do this, and if you don't do that, well, I'm going to punish you. I'm going to harm you. And that's the threat of violence. And that's the coercion and the perpetual duress that we're under. And so we are not free, because we are under perpetual duress and coercion, that threat of greater violence if we don't comply. So people say they want something, but they have to look at where they are and what they need to get what they want. And I've gone into this before. You got true freedom you want. The requirements for true freedom are to do the great work. So then you have requirements to be able to train yourself to do the great work and get to the point where you can actually do it. So that's what's holding people back, and because they believe false things about themselves. And that's all of humanity holding itself back from being free. Because that's why earlier in Passio's work, it was all about the mind control and like the, I guess there was the symbols and the Freemasonry and all that stuff, and it was all like all external. And then he started to turn it around, and it was like, that's about you. We're doing this to ourselves. Like those fake Illuminati, the dark Illuminati, the elite and the rulers, and they're so much fewer compared to the vast majority of everyone else. And everyone is just accepting that way of life, and that's why it continues. That's the principle of quantity or majority. And so humanity is actually holding itself back. Everyone is holding themselves back because of their ignorance, because of their cowardice, because we won't unify in that moral truth at a first level internally. And then when we're all connected to truth, then we can unify our behavior and act to end it and create the world that we want to create. So we've created a torture chamber for ourselves, and the solution is to get out of it. The solution to get out of it is the responsibility of shadow work that each individual has to take upon themselves, and no one can do it for you. And that's the part of that's the first level. Great work is the inner work you have to do on yourself, and until you do that, you can't do the outer work. And well, that's why it's episode 25 of shadow work, because this is what we're trying to get people to do the work on themselves, to stop lying to themselves, stop dreaming, learn how to think, and activate themselves to that higher level of agape love, of care. You want to add something to that?
Sure. Because you mentioned a very important point when you started off is, this isn't one of those things where you just dip your toes in it and you get wet. When it comes to, trying to do this moral education and this kind of work, the individual has to be in it for the long haul, for the long journey. Like that's why it's good to, it's like what do you want out of this? Of course it should be freedom, like ending slavery, because that right there should be your motivation. How that right there should be, how what fuels you. And then you mentioned how learning these things, and how you mentioned this when we or when you started doing these shows. What's preventing the individual from learning these things? Like if you don't know how to use technology, well, what's stopping you from learning? Like if you don't know how to do something, and how when it comes to any skill, what's preventing you from learning? And you brought up the apprentice, and I think this is something that a lot of people are kind of fearful of. Because we did a show yesterday talking about warriors, and I was talking about hell being a disciple and not necessarily following another teacher. It's not that it's a bad thing, but you can follow a philosophy, like follow a universal truth, but you can learn and study from others, and seek out the wise ones or the wise teachers and study under them, and kind of be a disciple of what their message is, or you can be an hell apprentice and learn from them. And like when you learn hell enough, then you can go down your own path, and educate, or do whatever that knowledge is representative of. And that's something I think we need more of. Be willing to help assist and teach those who are willing to learn. And that's one thing that I do admire about a lot of the individuals who are on the network. And that's what most people haven't realized is if you reach out to a lot of people who are on the network, a lot of them are very open to assist and to help. And there are a lot of individuals who are extremely talented, in many areas, and they would be willing to give out some knowledge or inspiration that can help you in whatever means you want to learn. And it's okay to ask someone for help, and and admit that you don't know these things, because that way you can start that process of actually knowing, then actually seek out the ones who you can actually learn from. So what's stopping you from learning these things that is preventing you from getting involved in this work? Because you know, uh, it's so easy to just make excuses, but when you actually start to problem solve and start to jot things down and actually get to the crux of the problem on why you aren't getting, hell involved, a lot of the times it's just either people just scared or they simply just don't know, you know. But there are ways for you to alleviate that. And that is the reason why this shadow work, going within the self and understanding who you are is essential to what we are trying to do. Is because if you're in it for the long haul, you have to continue the inner journey and process within yourself, because there are a lot of things that are going to come up, a lot of bullshit, a lot of stuff, in your real life. There's just a lot of things that are going to come, when you're telling people what they don't want to hear. So you have to be able to endure that. You have to be able to, bounce back and, be elastic and rebound. Like it's like you can't be fragile and just break. Yeah, you can take a break. We all have real life things. We all have things we have to deal with, but you have to keep coming back and still be willing to you know um put foot in the game and still morally educate people. And that's why this shadow work is so important, because you see a lot of people start and they don't really last long. You see a lot of people, they may do it for a few months, they may do it for like a year, but then they fall off the map and then you don't hear from again. And it's really sad, because we can really use more brothers and sisters in this spiritual battle, to talk about how natural law, freedom, all of these wonderful things that we are talking about that most people seem to not care about.
Yeah, we'll get more into those. What's holding you back? What's preventing you? What's stopping you? There'll be more to come on that. Um, those are all fears that are holding people back, or laziness, which is that
Yep.
involutionary force. If you don't care enough, apathy, involutionary force, ultimately in the fear. If you don't know and you don't want to learn, involutionary force, the fear, what we're talking about here. If you're cowardly, you don't have courage, involutionary force. And if you're lazy in action, you don't want to do it, well, that's still involutionary force. Either um, leading the way for that force of evil to grow, or stagnation of not stopping it. Hence, that higher level morality of working to stop it. Because if you're not doing that, then you're in that involutionary force, because you're stagnating in the face of having to do something. So you're just not doing anything to stand in the way of evil. And for some people, they just don't get it. How that's like you're not doing. It's a right that you have to do anything that doesn't initiate harm. And that's what I went into my morality presentation. It's you have the right to do anything that doesn't initiate harm. So you have the right to not do the great work. But it's not the right thing to do. It's the wrong thing to do, because you're just letting evil. And I'll talk about it more as we go. Hey Jerry, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good. How are you guys doing?
All right. Looks like things are heating up. I took my hoodie off. Brandon's taking his shirt off. It's heating up around here.
Hey, the Intel CPU I said it's heating up.
Yeah. So you got any homework reports for us there, or are you still working on that?
Well, I finished writing 8 paragraphs on another article about the only two ways humanity ever suffers, which is refusing to accept that which is true and believing that which isn't true. So that's done. Yeah, I mean, I may need to kind of polish that up, but it's definitely fun to do because just there's just a lot to say about it, but it's good. It's good to just do it. So
Well, it'll help, like I said, it'll help refine the understanding for yourself as you, because it's something we talked about before. To really know something, teach it. Then you're going to realize, you're like, oh yeah, I didn't think of this, or then you're going to really understand it more because you're going to be teaching it. When you just hear it, you think like, oh yeah, I heard that, I know what he's talking about, I know it now, all right, I know it all. Then when you go to teach it, then you're like, ah yeah, okay, now I'm now I'm understanding it more. So it's good to do that, because that's what essentially you're doing. You're writing it for other people to read it. So it's a teaching. It's the output. It's the rhetoric, that wisdom phase of putting it out there. So that's the teaching, the speaking. So I guess next time you'll have it worked out, good to go.
yeah, I just probably need to look it over one more time, look over it, and but yeah, just it came out just like that. So it's definitely I'll be doing more.
Cool. Yeah, that's how you do it, man. You just start, and you'll see. You'll be a regular Substack poster, or wherever you're going to post it there, and be writing articles all the time. And then, yeah, I think that's a good way to do it, because you have the time. It's like there's no pressure where you're on an audio or video, and you got to already have the knowledge. So it's for to start it out, to begin. I think writing is a good avenue, because it gives you the time to collect your thoughts and refine what you want to say and organize it well.
Plus, it can also be a release. That's something that I learned for myself, because I do like to dabble in some writing online, and I've noticed when I do, it's like a form, of it's like a release for me. It's like a form of venting. You can let how your thoughts just flow, and I find it to be like kind of calming now. It's something that I've like thought like, hey, like maybe I want to explore like deeper writing like for in the future. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're talking about the great work and the need to do it, how we're in a battle. Don't be a loser. Don't quit, and don't never get engaged, because then you're just being a loser in this battle, in this game of call it, I guess, the game of the voice of truth versus the voice of the lie, and who's gonna get more participants on each side to propel each side forward. Right now we're losing. We've been losing for a long time. The voice of the truth has always been, I guess, battle scarred and bewildered. And when we, as I mentioned before, we do the great work because we care. Obviously, we care about ourselves because we don't want to be enslaved. And your enslavement means usually that in this aggregate sense, I'm not going to talk about individual, but in the aggregate sense of our collective way of life, we're all enslaved. So by caring about yourself and you wanting to be free, it means everyone else has to be free. So by extension, you're going to care about their freedom. And in that sense, it is selfish. I do the great work because I am selfish. It's not some selfless desire that I have that has nothing to do with me. It's not like I'm doing this just for someone else. I'm doing it because I recognize that I'm enslaved, so I don't want to be enslaved. So that's a basic point that people can, even if they're like, oh, I don't care about other people. Do you even care about yourself? We've talked about many times, developing that self-love. Otherwise, you're in that self-loathing and self-hatred, and you don't even realize it if you're just fine being a slave. So though there's that selfish desire, it also aligns with the goal of creating true freedom. That selfish desire that you don't want to be enslaved. Well, that if you're going to act on it and try to end your enslavement, it aligns with the goal of true freedom. And there's also, as I mentioned before, that we want to not be enslaved, but there's also another desire that we have, at least that I have, and I'm sure a lot of people have, is that we want to be as moral as we can be. And that's also how I am selfish, because I want to be as moral as I can be. And that's what I want for me. And again, that aligns with true freedom, true order, agape love, what is right, and morality and natural law. So to be the most moral you can be, even though you know that true freedom is a long shot, because you can't control the immediate outcome of how the world is. So even though you can't make things change immediately, what you can do is control how you behave and how moral you want to be. And that's why I'm not vegan for health reasons. I'm vegan for moral reasons. And I do the great work not to actually get freedom for me, because I know realistically I'm not going to have freedom for me in my lifetime, but because I want to be the most moral I can be. So even though I don't want to be a slave, you can realize that you're not going to be free. So then I don't want to be a slave, but I'm not going to be free in my lifetime at the rate we're going. So why even bother? People can think of that. So if that's your false conclusion, because then if everyone does that, then obviously nothing will happen. But you have to get out of that mindset and get onto the battlefield, participate. And if other people think the same way and participate, then it could happen in our lifetimes. It's just at the rate it's going, it's not likely going to happen because of this mindset of people, they come across anyone's work, our work, Passio's work, and that's the great work. That's how we're actually going to become free. Well, fuck that. I'm out. I'm going to go just live my selfish life. Because they're like, well, it's not going to happen anyways, so why would I waste my time? And well, then you're already losing. You're already a quitter right there. You're already being a loser. So don't be a loser. But a deeper sense is, even if you won't have your freedom, so you won't get what you want, how moral do you want to be? Do you want to be the most moral you can be? Or do you just I'll just not participate in that immorality level 1, but I'll still let evil trounce around and prance around and keep going and get bigger. And, I just won't do anything about it. I won't engage in trying to get people to understand these aspects of self-knowledge and work on themselves and, eventually understand morality. And so then you're a quitter and you're not doing that higher level morality. So I have agape care. I have that higher care in me, and I want morality to flourish. And I have to do my part to live by example and be the most moral I can be. I care for moral truth. And that's why the ultimate reason I do it, I don't do it because I'm I'm going to be free. If I do this, I'm going to be free. No, it's not a goal that I'm going to necessarily achieve. I don't do it because I'm freedom, all right, I'm going to get my freedom. I'm going to make this dessert and then I'm going to eat my dessert after. No, it's not going to work like that. You have to realize that you're going to make a dessert and you're not going to eat it. And you're going to make another dessert and you're not going to eat it. Something like that. And you're just making dessert and you're never going to eat it. So we're doing work where we're probably not going to see the outcome, but we're doing it because we want to be as moral as we can be. Hey, welcome aboard. Is this Nick?
Hey, I'm Nick. I'm Nick. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Got it working this time. Last time didn't have much luck. So yeah, I just wanted to join and say g'day, and been watching most of the episodes over time, and been getting a lot of wisdom from you fellas, and just wanted to kind of jump on board and start getting used to being out there. And I guess I'm one of the people that started in the last year or so and have got some experience in, online marketing and, media in general and tech space and that kind of thing. So I guess I feel like I'm a pretty good yardstick, I guess, for like onboarding some of these things and just kind of trudging along through Mark Passio's work as well. So I'm up to about episode 170 and watched most of the other things. And it was activated basically by Mark yelling at me in the
We're gonna get some more of that. Don't wait till you get up to the 230s and then into
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
end of
I
the
think I-
250s.
You got to get in.
I think I was watching the later ones, and then he was yelling, and I was like, all right, I'll start from the beginning. Settle down, mate. Yeah. So
Cool.
I just wanted to join, and I'm not sure if you guys got any questions. I didn't have any questions or anything like that, but I just wanted to, I've done about 12 episodes so far, and kind of going through that content creation process, and the clunkiness and all of that kind of thing, and I've got a few different like thoughts, which I'm sure you guys are all aware of, but just even the just dealing with the centralized platforms, and I'm kind of in that space in P2P world, I guess you'd say, but just dealing with YouTube and X and all of that kind of thing, it's a little bit I'm not that motivated, I guess you would say, to spend the time required to do what I know what it takes to get into those, like to get traction in those spaces. So, and I guess I just a bit from an eagle-eyed view on the natural law of movement, so to speak, and the traction or lack thereof, and how it kind of goes across these platforms. And so I guess that's I don't really know where to start, but even Rumble, owned by Tether and Peter Thiel and those guys, I'm not interested in getting traction there either. And just even the basis in which we share, like the media and all of that kind of thing. I know it's kind of Mark says be everywhere kind of a thing, and all of that, but it does take time to upload everywhere, and if you want to get traction, you do have to put the time into a lot of these little things. So just kind of trudging along a few of those different kinds of things and working out, I don't know if you'd call it strategies, or kind of how to put the show together on a regular basis, and how I am or am not going to do it, and those kind of things.
Yeah, I'd say don't think of it as like traction of like getting more views and more numbers or anything. Just look at it as redundancy, data redundancy, archiving redundancy and the potential of people coming across it in different areas with different interests. So I do, obviously YouTube is the biggest one. I do Odyssey, Rumble, and BitChute, and that's all I do. Because I'm doing video now, I'm not doing writing. So I could have done Minds in the past, and now there's Substack, but I don't know if I'll ever get back into the writing thing much. So just look at it as like you have content and you want to put it up, and to try to get it to more people potentially who can come across it in a search. You put it in more places, it's not a guarantee. And also that, if YouTube takes my stuff down, well then it's over here. And when I post it on my site, I have the 4 video links. So if everything goes away from YouTube and someone comes to my site, well, they'll still have the 3 other sites that they can watch it from. And like if, 3 of them go down, well, at least there's one, hopefully, that's still around that has my video to play. So I look at it as more as redundancy and not really to get traction. Like I've been on YouTube for a while, and I have like 3,700 or something so-called subscribers, and there's like 30 views on every single video. And there's like someone else who went to the One Great Work Network, and they have like 100 subscribers, and they got like 60 views when they make a video. So I think that's because I guess I'm like shit on in the algorithms because I did post some stuff on COVID. So they probably got some system that like downgrades whatever I do, and I guess it doesn't get seen. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I think if you start a new account, you probably have the potential to get more views as opposed to if your account has been blacklisted or whatever. I don't know. These are just theories I have. It could be all bullshit what I'm talking about. And it's just because people are not interested in my videos, which totally could be the case. I don't know. But yeah, that would be my advice. Do like the ones that are popular. You got BitChutes, the alternative. Odyssey tried to come up, and there's like Rumble. I don't know if there's other ones, but those are the 4 I do. And yeah, it's a pain. It's like, okay, I did this stream, and then I'm like, I got to go upload it to those 4 places, and it'll take me like, I guess a half hour. Like, okay, this one's done, upload the other one, copy everything. Oh, this one's done, okay, upload the other one. It takes me a half hour. It's like annoying, but it's only a half hour. But every time, I don't want to do it, but I gotta do it. But yeah, it's not that much of a hassle. But obviously, if you're doing 10 places, then it's gonna take you more time. But
yeah. I guess yeah, just kind of. I guess I've been in this. Obviously been in this. Far less than what you guys have. But I guess one thought that comes up, and it sounds a little bit rude, but it's not really. But like, for example, if you're addressing current topics or the current whatever the people are interested in, and then going into objective morality, like, hey, what's the objective morality? Like, what's the morals of this kind of part? That's one part. But then the kind of the depths of natural law and objective morality, I do notice. Obviously, when everyone gets started, it's like, oh, like, let's all talk about natural law and let's talk about objective morality.
People don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and
they're
it's
not
also
interested.
Yeah, and it's like, is it boring? Like, it's like if like I just go up to like
for them,
people if I go into people in general, like, hey, let's talk about objective morality. It's like, okay, bro, like
philosophy. No, get the fuck out of here. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
No.
But even it doesn't even sound like philosophy. It's kind of like it just sounds boring. It's like people just like listen in, and it's like, okay, there's nothing happening. These people are just sitting around talking about boring shit. See you later. So whether rightly or wrongly, it's more like, and whether it's probably like a lower level thought, but it's like, if people aren't engaging with it, or it's not attractive to them, or there's kind of like no inlet, or the net's not cast wide enough to kind of bring in some of these things. And that's why, even though it's not really the same thing, that's why I feel like people like Dave Smith do pretty well, because they're talking about things that people are interested in, and a kind of like, not in the same way, but in a roundabout way, kind of like, well, what's the right way to think about this? And I think that can kind of help bring it in. But yeah, I mean, I don't have all the answers, obviously, but I just that was just a thought that I had, is that you kind of, let's all talk about natural law and objective morality, and I was like, okay, this is boring, see you later.
Yeah, that's the mindset of people. They're not interested in deeper thought. We've talked about it before, novelty. They want, what's the newest thing? What's the latest trend? What's the fad? Little thing that's happened this week. I call it the flavor of the day, the flavor of the week, whatever the flavor is. Oh, this bad thing happened. Oh, let's talk about this bad thing. And then the next bad thing that happens. Oh, this person, this government, this happened here, this bad thing. And it's just talking about the bad things. That's most of the alternative movement. It's just going from one thing to the next. Oh, look here, let's talk about the effects here. The effects, that's what people are interested in, because it's novelty, it's new things, it's new information, and it keeps their attention for a short period, and then they want something else new. And that's unfortunately the idiocracy problem that we have, is that people they're not interested in the deeper philosophical thought and actual root causal level solutions to get themselves unfucked and so they're just staying fucked, and they think they're being productive or that it's useful to just go on this dopamine ride of the new novelty, the new thing, the flavor of the week, the flavor of the day. Oh, look, this happened here. Oh, did you hear about this? And they're going nowhere. They're going in circles. And they are their own worst enemy. This is what I've said since like 2014. I came up with this slogan that you insult, judge, and offend yourself by your own behavior. And that people are their own worst enemies in general. And that's a classic example. They're not interested in things that can get themselves out of the problem that they might not even realize that they're in. And so it's that hamster wheel. They're just going around in circles, generation after generation. And things aren't changing in meaningful ways because they're not interested in truly, deeply understanding the problem and the solution to the problem. But that doesn't mean I'm going to just start talking about news. I could. I've thought about it a lot of like, this happened and how it relates to morality. But I'm more of the trying to get these deep things explained. So if I was doing that, then I'd be talking a lot about the flavor of the week and tying it into morality. And sure, more people would be interested in. So there's that trade-off. But I'm trying to explain things at a deep level for more people to understand who are even doing this kind of work, because a lot of my work has gone deeper than a lot of the stuff that Passio talks about. So I try to take it to another level for, I guess, even the teachers to learn more of so they can have a more profound understanding. And that's what I like to do, is I like to go deeper into it and shine more light onto the subject or the understanding of a certain meaning of something, so that you can have a greater grasp, a greater profundity, a greater depth of understanding things. But yeah, definitely. Like Conrad does the news tied to natural law thing, and he gets, I know he gets a lot more views than me because it's more
What's
interesting.
That channel? I'm not sure. I'm really familiar with that one. What's
Conrad
his channel?
Rogas? He does Truth and This Week in Tyranny, or that's what it used to be called. Conrad Rogas. You can find him on the One Great Work Network. I forget, it's Truth and Morality or something. Truth and Law. His YouTube channel. It's Conrad Rogas, Truth and Law, I think. And yeah, so he does that. And I've thought about it for a while, but it's like, that's just not what I'm trying to do in my efforts. I'm trying to get that deeper understanding so that things can be really understood at a core level. And yeah, so be it. If not many people pay attention, oh well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I certainly appreciate the longer form deep dives. Yeah, so I do like that. And, not to speak on behalf of other people, but, when you do flick people links, yeah, people have got to be committed, I guess. Like,
Yep.
when you sling someone an 8-hour link for a Patio presentation or something, and they're like, yeah, okay, bro. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoy those kind of things. So yeah.
And one thing that I'll add to this is, yes, people may not be interested in morality. People may not be interested in philosophy. People may not be interested in, these topics of shadow work, but we still speak it to them. We still speak these messages of truth to them, even though they don't want to hear it. And that's the most important thing is, we are still going to present this message, even if nobody wants to hear it, because it's the right moral thing to do. And you never know, because I've had people, tell me like they're not interested in what I have to say. And then years later, they'll come back. And then it's like, oh, what was you saying, years ago? And I'm still open. Like, all right, here's some, here's some information, but it's up to you, how, like you said, if they are interested, they're not going to click on that link, but you can't make someone click on it. They have to develop that care, that will, and that desire, and develop that burning fire within themselves to actually want to actually click on that link, to actually want to learn, and to actually care enough about themselves, to actually want to grow and learn.
Right, I totally agree. And I mean, you could argue even that people do want to hear it. Maybe it's just the way they don't know that they do, or maybe it's the way it's presented. But on a deeper level, the energy exchange or whatever is, trying to, get the divine to the right places, or however you want to frame it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, people will certainly, light up some joints and pass out, watching Gaia TV and, Ancient Aliens and that kind of stuff. So it's not like, it's not, and then call themselves truth seekers. So, it's, they're seeking something.
Yeah. They just don't know. They're not getting the quality stuff. And this stuff, it's like deeper thinking. You can just go through stuff like Passio stuff, but there's a difference between just listening to it, and then really thinking about it, trying to understand it, and like try to take it apart and see, like, is this really true? How is it true? How is it false? What else can you find that can support it more? That's really the deeper thinking that people don't do. They just want to be passive receivers. They want to be spectators. They want to take the input, and that's it. And then in the second part of the trivium, that knowledge input, and then there's the processing. So a lot of people won't even do the processing of trying to go into things more. And then there's certainly the last part, which is the output, the wisdom. There's even less people doing that, because that's when you're putting it back out. And that requires that processing, that requires that thinking, requires applying your conscious capacities of thinking and thought, analyzing things and trying to order the information in a way that makes more sense. And that takes effort. And yeah, people are lazy, and they just want to go for what's easy. And Ancient Aliens or Gaia TV, it's like entertainment. And then you can just feel good about yourself. You can get that new age positivity mask, rosy-colored glasses, and make you feel good about how you're going to ascend to the fifth dimension, and there's going to be this whatever earth split nonsense and all this other stuff. And I'm sure there's good information in there, but a lot of it's wrapped with just feel good stuff to make you just feel good, and that's why you want it, and that's why you like it, and that's why you want more of it, because it makes you feel good. And what we're talking about doesn't necessarily make you feel good. Unless you care for truth, then you're going to feel good about, wow, that's true. Now I've acquired it. Now I understand more. And then you're going to feel good about it. That's when you have that deeper care for truth, and you love truth, and you appreciate it. And it might hurt. The truth might hurt, because you're not measuring up to it. You're not living up to it. You're not measured at that same level as where you could be. And people don't want to face that aspect of themselves. They don't want to face that darkness of their current state of being, and then the potential that they can reach and become better. So they just want to stay where they're at. They don't want to expend that effort to work on themselves. Hence the shadow work. So yeah, it's stuff balance. People need to care more. That's what it comes down to. We're talking about fear, love, and that's what the motivations within you are. How much are you going into that aspect of understanding yourself more, these aspects of ourselves, what motivates us, and understanding how certain behaviors feeds into certain things, like agape love, the evolutionary force, versus fear, the involutionary force. If you're not doing the great work, well, you're not serving that love, truth, morality, right, good as much as you can. You might not be doing that primary level of immorality as I've been talking about. So you might be that morality level 1. You're not participating or supporting in it. But you're not being as loving, moral, right, and good as you can be. Because everyone can do this one type of work. pretty much everyone on the planet can do the one great work. Everyone can do it, and it's one type of work ultimately, because it's all about moral education. And everyone can do it. Everyone can learn. Everyone can receive moral truth, acquire it, and take the time to understand it well, and then be able to output it so that more people can potentially come across whatever hard media they're going to put out that can be accessible, not just talking to someone on the street or making Facebook posts. That's not what's going to be accessible by more people. So influencing others to engage in that moral self-actualization. That's what we're trying to do. We self-actualize in morality. We're trying to get other people to self-actualize in morality so that they can engage in the same process of doing that moral education to get more people to self-actualize, and then maybe get that dessert that we say we want to eat. So do you want to be a lower level good or a higher level good? The lower level good is just not doing that base immorality, not stealing all those property rights. So if you're not stealing those property rights, then most people are like, all right, I'm good. There you go. I've done my part and that's it. But that's not the higher level good. Do you want to be a lower level moral or a higher level moral? Because if you're not doing the great work, you're not serving love, truth, morality, right, good as much as you can. So that means you're not being as moral as you can be. So if you're being more moral, that means you have that M1 level and plus that M2. And if you're less moral, then you're just M1, which is not initiating harm. But if you're not initiating harm and you're doing the great work, then you're more moral than someone who's just not initiating harm. So you're therefore less immoral if you're doing the great work and not initiating harm, and you're more immoral relative to that person if you're just not initiating harm, because it's about serving that force of love, agape, that evolutionary force. And if you're not serving it as much as you can be, then you're more in that the polarity of fear, the involutionary force. So either directly, if you're initiating harm, you could be directly serving it. And if you're not doing the great work, then you're in that stagnation aspect of that involutionary force, the force of fear. So you're stagnating on promoting love, truth, morality, right, and good. And so by your stagnation in that, you're, in a sense, not directly, but you're allowing the fear, the falsity, the immorality, the wrong, and the evil to continue and to remain there, because you're not doing anything to try to get it out of the way. So that stagnation in the face of evil, of not doing that higher level immorality, is that involutionary fear path. It's not the path of truth, of love, of good, of right, and of morality. And people just have a hard time understanding this. They don't understand how it's not the morality of initiating harm, but it is a type of immorality. That's why I've termed it such, but I differentiate. It's not the same as stealing from someone, clearly. That's an active behavior. But it's the passive behavior of choosing not to serve love, good, right, morality, truth in a way that you can, because you can, and you're choosing to turn away from that path. So it's being less moral. It's not that you're being immoral by stealing from someone, but it's because you're being less moral than that higher morality, it brings you more towards the immoral side, not the immoral side of creating evil and participating in evil. But it's that stagnation aspect that's aligned with a complicity to let evil perpetuate and perpetuate and perpetuate. So it's not going to do anything about it. That's just sitting back, do nothing, let the world be led into evil. And, if you think about it, all these ways we can explain it. You just sit back, do nothing, let the world be led into evil, into more evil, and just let it continue. Is that truly being good? Well, if it's not truly being good, then it's more towards that evil. Even though you're not creating evil, it's that force. The whole point of this 10-part series is what is in you that is motivating you. And we're not just talking about creating the evil, we're talking about the tolerance to evil. That's the whole point of the great work, is this tolerance to evil. So if you want to truly be good, if you want to be more moral, you have to get engaged into the great work. So if you just want to let evil be and you kick back and do nothing, if you do that, then you deserve what you get. This immoral world, the evil, the subjugation, your enslavement. You deserve it. I don't deserve it. People here don't deserve it. People who are engaged in the great work don't deserve it because they're doing something to try to combat it, to try to reverse that. But the people who do nothing just want to sit back and be like, oh, it's fine. I'm not immoral there's no aspect of immorality related to not doing the great work. That's just trying to guilt trip people or make them feel bad. Yeah, it's to guilt trip them and make them feel bad because they're not being as moral as they can be. They're not serving truth, love, right, good, morality. They're not serving it as much as they can. That means if you're not serving it as much as you can, you're still serving it in part in the opposite direction. So that's that immoral side. So just letting evil take over means evil will take over and you get what you allow. And that's why we have the world that we have, is through all of this inaction of tolerating evil. Well, that's what we get. So if you're just complaining about something you don't want, but you're not willing to do anything to not get that condition or result, then that's what makes you a loser. And it's more than a loser, it makes you not a good person. And again, you could be a small good person of just not initiating harm, not creating or participating in evil. But that's not what makes you really a truly good person. It just makes you like a decent person. Hey, I'm not stealing from other people. I'm a decent person. Okay, great. Congratulations. But you need to do more if you actually want to be a truly good person. It takes more than that. That's just not truly being evil if you're not stealing. But just because you're not truly evil doesn't mean you're truly good. It takes more. So it's like if you're a child's being beaten or your wife's being raped in front of you and you just let it happen, you're just like, oh, okay, I'm not going to say anything, not going to do anything. Is that being a good person? Is that the good thing to do, the right thing to do? Obviously you'd expect the woman to leave a man who would just be like, oh, someone just attacked you and they're going to rape you. Oh, well, I'm just going to be like, okay, I'll just wait till it's over. Yeah, well, fuck, she's going to fucking leave you. Why would you want to be with a piece of shit like that? You're not a good person. If someone's drowning and you pass by and there's a life preserver right beside you and they're drowning there, you're like, oh, well, I don't want to jump in because, drowning people, they could sink you and pull you under and then you drown too. But, oh, look, there's a life preserver. You don't have to go jump in. Just, hey, throw them that life preserver donut that's just laying there. And, they could cling on to it and potentially live if you want to help them live. But you don't do that. Oh, there's the life preserver donut. Oh, they're drowning. Well, I'm just going to sit here and watch them drown, or I'm going to walk. I'm going to be like, oh, okay, I'm not going to help. I'm just going to keep walking. If you do that, are you really a good person? If you don't, just because you're not initiating harm to someone in those 3 examples that I gave, just because you're not initiating harm doesn't actually make you a really good person. It's not the right thing to do. You wouldn't be immoral for doing any of those things because that first level of immorality, because you wouldn't be creating or participating in the evil directly. You're not supporting it. You're not creating it. You're not initiating harm, that first level of immorality. But you're still embodying like a spirit of evil if you think about, especially that last one, where if someone's drowning and there's the life preserver donut and you're not even going to throw it to them, that's like embodying that spirit of evil in some way. It's not the ultimate evil of like violating someone's rights, but there's still a spirit of evil within you, that callousness of not caring, of not even wanting to try to help. That's that evil spirit. That's an immoral spirit, to not act in that situation where it's easy for you to act. You're not someone with no arms who can't lift things. It's not like lifting a 1-ton boulder. It's this thing that weighs like 5 pounds or 10 pounds or something, and all you got to do is throw it in the water. And then you choose not to do that. That makes you, makes you evil in some respect. It makes you immoral in some respect. It's not that primary level of stealing, initiating harm, but this is what we're getting at with this great work, is that it's not initiating harm, you're not stealing, you're not creating evil, but you're tolerating the evil. So that's not acting in the spirit or service of love, in the service of truth and right and good, in the service of morality. You're not in the service of morality if you're just letting evil go on and you're not doing anything and you're just tolerating it. That is not serving morality. So how can you claim that that's truly being moral or truly being good if you're not actually serving morality to that level? And then obviously the corollary is there's an aspect of immorality in you. If you're not serving morality to that level, there's an aspect of immorality. And people just, they don't want to hear it. They're saying, no, it's not immoral. And they just want to completely deny it because they don't want to understand these gradients, these degrees of embodying this aspect of this fear or love within you. There's different grades and degrees, and it's all along a spectrum and a scale, and how far are you on towards one side or towards the other. And they just want to look at it as black and white. No, if you're moral, if you're not stealing from someone, if you're not engaging in a violation of a property right, then you're being moral. And if anyone claims anything else is immoral, well, they're just wrong, and you're just full of bullshit, and you're just trying to guilt trip and shame people on some delusion of trying to characterize them as being immoral just to get them to get off their ass and do something. But then they don't want to see that how true it is. They just don't want to understand the nuances of the scale and the spectrum and where you position yourself on it. How that's motivating your behavior within you. And yeah, if you think doing these things and not doing the great work, not helping, if you think that's actually being in the spirit of love, truth, right, good, and morality, then I think you do have brain damage that is preventing you from being able to reason properly, to even be able to engage in the reasoning capacity to understand the scale, the spectrum, and how if you're not serving truth, right, good, morality, natural law to that level that you can be, where you're not tolerating the opposite spectrum of that fear, that falsity, that immorality, that evil, because you're stagnating on allowing it and you're not serving the opposite end, then you're in some way you're embodying that spirit of immorality or of evil. Not in a severe way. You're not being that higher level, more primary level of immorality, but you're being immorality in one way, because the only way true freedom is restored and slavery is abolished is by the aggregate being moral, which means they have discovered moral truth and they live by it, and that requires them getting moral truth. So if people aren't doing the great work, and that's the goal of the great work, is getting people to have moral truth and live it, accepting evil is not good or right. If you're just going to tolerate it and you're not going to engage in the great work, then you're just accepting the evil because you're not doing anything to try to combat it. That's not good or right. And you have the right to do that. You have the right to not initiate harm. Those things are not initiating harm. But that doesn't mean you're truly doing the right thing or truly being good by just not initiating harm and not doing a moral wrong. That's stagnating your own will to let the involutionary force of evil continue to be. And that's being an involutionary will yourself, serving the force of fear and not serving the force of love. So, anyone wants to comment on that? We'll wrap it up and call it an end to the episode there.
When you said I want to be the most moral as I can be, I'm glad I'm not the only one, because that's something that, like I've always, wanted to, strive for, like how can I be as moral as I can be, and, as the world gets more chaotic and more evil, then I'm asking myself the question, like how can I become more moral, how can I understand this stuff more? But yeah, I mean, hell, Kris, that was it was almost like a speech, but yeah, man, hell, you just always have such a talented way of, vocalizing this stuff that most people, like how you have a gift of just breaking things down and putting it in such a way, like such a logical way that most people can understand it. But yeah, morality, folks. I mean, like, how many times do we have to keep saying that? And you know, yeah, we probably won't see freedom in our lifetime, but that doesn't mean we just sit back and sit on our asses and do nothing and be cowards and be losers. The more people who are talking about this stuff, then the more this information is going to be flowing out there, then the higher probability that other individuals can find this information. If no one is out there talking about morality, if no one is out there talking about freedom and shadow work, then what are the chances of other individuals coming across this knowledge? It's going to be extremely, extremely low. So we need more numbers out there. We need more individuals who are willing to, jump on board and make these, sacrifices, because the more that are speaking this message, then the higher probability that others can find this message. It's no guarantee, but it's a higher chance that others can find this work.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just say my last little piece. Yeah, just again, just want to send my appreciation to you guys, because it's really deep work. And I guess one, it was quite a lot in there, but I guess one comment would be that, one common thing that I see is, I guess, people unaware that they're allowing that slavery to happen, and on some level that they think that they're more awake than what they are. So, and they give their power away because they're not integrated, or acting as more away. So they understand like what the elite are doing, or some interdimensional force, or some being, or whatever it is. There's some kind of you don't like they're more aware of the deeper layers, and that just by being aware of some of those things, like that's enough or something. So that was one point. I guess one thing I just wanted to say is that I guess it is challenging to go through this material and to do this shadow work, because at least in my experience, in a way it makes you like hyper aware of all of the things that aren't in alignment. So I guess through this process and through listening to you guys and all that, it's kind of like just trudging through so much shit. It kind of just like stirs up all of the things. And then, it just at times just seems like such a massive shit fight, where it's like, oh, and you can believe your own, get high on your own supply and stuff like that. You're like, oh, I've been doing this and I've been doing that. And then it's like, oh man, like I'm still, wow. So there's a bit of that, because it kind of in a way it makes you focus on all of the things that aren't in alignment. And it's like, yeah. So that was one thing. And then I guess the last thing I just wanted to say, I guess it's partly a question, and I know there's a good answer for this, but when someone like maybe are new to some of these topics, and then you say, well, the solution is to create content about this thing that I've just told you about. I know that there's like deeper levels to it, and they'll understand more about it. In a way, it sounds a little culty in terms of like, oh, like I've got the thing and you've got to believe this thing and then make content about it. It seems a little, whatever. So like the one solution is to like create content about this one thing. And I know that there's way more to it than that, but I think that some of the people that are in that stagnation are like, why am I gonna like that? I'm not gonna go on. Like, yeah. So it kind of takes I guess what they would respect, like like taking another look, I guess is the etymology of that word. And yeah, all the things that you guys have talked about, like apathy, self-care, self-love, agape love for more than just you, and all of that kind of thing. And so yeah, that's a few things that came up for me. And so thank you guys, and yeah, glad that got to join. So yeah,
glad that you You came by. You're in Australia, I can tell by your voice, or New Zealand, somewhere around there.
Yeah, mostly, mate. Yep, for sure.
Yeah. This is like moral education, that's the punchline. TLDR, how do you want to be free? TLDR, moral education. And then I just got to believe you. Well, no, that's all the work you got to do to understand why the truth is that it is the solution. The TLDR punchline is, that's all it is. Well, here's the truth. Here's 2 words, moral education. Oh, well, great content on that. Well, no, it's not like you said, it's not that simple. It's not just believe me because I said it's moral education. No, it's understand why that is the solution. And then you'll be getting closer to actually being able to employ that solution, to be a participant in creating that solution. Until you understand why that is the solution, you're not going to be part of the solution. Even if you immediately jump on board and try to create content, you're not actually going to be part of the solution because you're not going to understand it really. I just wanted to add that as my little take on. Don't believe this, understand it, verify why it is true that this is the solution, and then you'll be empowered to actually know why it's the solution and care to do that as the solution. Don't just believe what someone says to do. Yeah, do this. We're going to be free if you do this. All right, let's do it. No, you guys got more work to do. You got to learn more. Jerry, you want to say something? All good?
Oh, 100%. I just want to say doing this work makes me feel like a butterfly, free, not stuck in the cocoon. And I think a lot of the process is just that transformation from a caterpillar to a butterfly. It's going to be hard work, but at the end of the day, then you'll grow your wings and you can freaking fly and just enjoy life in a way. And a lot of it is sort of motivating others to do that process. And it's possible. It's not like we're freaking special or like other type of human beings. It's like, nah, we came from freaking a mother. We grew up in shitty places with shitty not even educational, schooling systems. But something in us said, I want to seek truth. And that's why we're here, speaking about objective morality. So no excuses, man. Look at yourself in the mirror. Stop bullshitting yourself. And know you can do this.
Cool. Good way to end it. I'll add my now regular ending of the stream for a wonderful quote from Mark Passio.
How about trying to get out there and do the actual great work so this world isn't such a fucking hellhole, huh?
It's a good way to end it. So thanks everyone for coming by. Get out there, do the shadow work so that you can eventually do the great work so that this world isn't such a fucking hellhole. Thanks everyone.